Hi, welcome along to today's video on the subject of intentions. How mixed intentions can create a lot of challenges in our lives, and to help you understand both what it means at a very human level, what it means energetically, and also to assist you with some meditation practices that I find very helpful. So before I explain a bit about intentions, let's zoom out. So let's go all the way out to this universe. So if we zoom out and imagine this universe, imagine for a moment that I'm holding this entire universe in my hands. In fact, maybe I'll hold this labradorite, and so imagine this is the universe here, and so I'm just stroking it. And imagine that this universe has within it this universal fundamental law. And this law is very simple, that it requires that all living things and everything within this universe is living, that all living things have the right, the universal right to free will. This means that every single living thing gets to autonomously decide what choices, what actions that they'll make in their life. So no other being has a right over them or a law over them to control what they do. And so this universal law of free will is very important to understand as a foundation for going on to talking about intentions. So I believe in free will, and I know that it's very, very healthy. I know that feeling truly that in every single present moment, you have total freedom. You have freedom to do whatever you wish. And that's at a whole spectrum, from the lightest light to the darkest dark and everything in between. You get to choose. And that in terms of judgment, the only real judgment that happens in our lives is when we decide to judge ourselves. So this is important as well. These are subjects in their own right: free will and judgment or non-judgment, non-duality. These are all really important to feel into yourself. Don't just take my word for it. And I'd encourage you to go on journeys of discoveries, self-discoveries about what these concepts and principles mean to you. Before I go into those in any more detail, I will now start talking about intentions. So let's talk about intentions. I'm just going to put the universe down gently. Thank you, universe. So the good news is that with your free will, you can decide what you allow into your life. So for example, if you're lucky and blessed to have a home, and I feel very blessed to have a beautiful home, that on the front door of that home, I have a front door and I have a lock as well. And so I decide that with my free will, that during the day, a lot of the time, the door is either locked or unlocked, just depending on whether we expect to go out or we're expecting visitors, or one of us is out walking our dog Patch. And then there's also this aspect of overnight. I choose to lock my door because the house is very quiet and there's no reason to have people coming in and out. So it just seems safer to lock it. So let's say someone comes up to my door. So they come up to the door and they're a stranger. Never met them before. And in this example, the stranger knocks on the door and just says, hello. And they say, I'm going to come in your house. And now I would have a reaction to that, right? But let's suspend belief that somehow I decided that it was, in that moment, a good idea I decided to allow them in. So if I allowed that stranger into my home, they could be standing there in the hallway, also known as the lobby. And so someone is a stranger, perfect stranger, I've only just met, and they've said that they're coming into my house and I've agreed to this and I've let them in, there's a challenge, right? What if I now take a second look at them and think, that was a really bad idea. I should not have let them into my house. I already have this like mixed intention situation. So I had originally said yes, and now I'm thinking, not so sure, maybe I should be saying no. And then I may be in a situation where I have to tell the person to leave. Now, you could say, well, John, that's not a mixed intention. It was first one intention and then another. First of all, I allowed strangers in. And then the second intention was I changed my mind and I said, no, I now reject strangers coming in my home. Whilst that sequentially is true, there was moments of mixed intention where I wasn't sure the in-between. And it's the in-between that is the hardest aspect of being human. So let me explain. So let's also talk about the dark side. The dark side. And you may notice that a lot of the work of the dark side. So earlier I mentioned like the light side of the spectrum and the dark side. And when I say dark side, it's just the spectrum. Like we're all on the same spectrum of dark to light. So you may notice that what happens a lot of the time is that the light is, further up you go in the spectrum, the higher the vibration, the lighter the vibration. Often we encourage free will. So just like I said earlier in this video, don't just take my word for it, right? Like don't just listen to people on YouTube and go, that must be true. You have to go through your own journey. Like every single one of us has to go through their own journey of truth to discern what feels right for us in our hearts, to think about it, to reflect on it, to write it down, to tell others, to explore what that means to your life and decide whether you integrate it into your life or not. Okay. And then the opposite, in the lower vibrations, so those that seek to control us or to influence us, will often seek agreement. Why do they constantly seek agreement from us? So if you've seen movies, for instance, where the vampire comes and knocks on the door, and they're standing there, and maybe they'll be sweet talking you, like, "Hi," I can't do the teeth. It's like, "Hi, how are you doing?" And they'll ask things like, "Would please invite me in," or would you invite me into your home? Like, and the reason that they're saying this, it's not because of some ritual or because they're playing games. It's because they literally want your consent, your free will consent. So the moment that you say yes, you lose all rights to reject them in that moment. And then subsequent attempts to reject them become much more confused and difficult. So it's literally like you're allowing the bringing down of your castle walls. And so as soon as they get to step over those castle walls, suddenly everything becomes a lot easier, right? So this is why you'll see this. I've also, it may or may not surprise you that me, and I know others that do work like me, and you may have experienced this yourself. If you've ever had a strange message, like a direct message on social media from someone who talks about illumination and the light, and they use quite strange language, and they seem to be offering you, lots of followers or fame or fortune. The offer might be really appealing, and they may even say that there's commonality between you. Often what they'll say things like, "Can I ask you a question?" And you're like, that is a question. "Can I ask you a question?" is a question. Why are you asking? And it's like they're constantly looking for agreement. Like what they would love you to do is to agree to bigger and bigger things. And at some point, there'll be an agreement where you're literally giving up your soul. It's like, yeah, here you go. Like, no, I do not give permission to give away my soul. And on that note, I also saw, this was years ago, and I can't remember the exact year, but the internet wasn't long born. This was like late 90s, early 2000s, when it was just starting to really pick up. And it became obvious that you need to comply with terms and conditions, different policies when you join someone's, visit someone's website or you buy something, etc. And I remember there was a well-known, well, not so well-known now, but very well-known then, what we describe as like a search engine social media platform in its earliest form. I believe they tried this experiment where in the terms and conditions that you never read, they said, and I hereby, so I'm just going to watch my language because I don't want to give away my soul. But they basically encourage people to tick a box that said that they were happy to give up all rights to their soul. And so people would not read this document, including this very important text. And then there was like a survey they did afterwards to see how many people would sell their soul for, I think it was literally like sell your soul for nothing, for like $0. And it's terrifying, right? Like I could literally go on my website right now and I could change my, and don't worry, it's not in there now, and I don't plan to change it, but I could go in and change it and I could add language like that, right? And you might think, oh, it's just words. What does it mean? It means everything. Like you're just like we were talking about in the free will universe, right? Because here it is. If you give up your right to free will, you're handing over the keys to your car, like your keys to your home. Or in the case of your soul, you'd be handing over the keys to your soul and saying that you give permission, and that you're really relinquishing your own power over your soul. So this consent aspect of intentions and mixed intentions is really important, right? So just know that if you don't read terms and conditions, then you agree to what's there, then for you, it might feel a bit mixed intention, right? But not really. Like you did agree to it. Whether you read it or not is up to you. And imagine the verbal equivalent of it. Someone saying to you, there's a whole document I could read out to you, but I bet you just want to get on and start using my services. So just click yes. And so this is important to consider. And I'm not perfect, right? I'm far from perfect. And I do sometimes go in and scroll through, at least quite fast, through people's like policies, terms and conditions, etc. You may also wonder why a lot of these cookie policies that turn up on websites, like why is that so important? Like why do these companies and countries really care that we give consent? Have a think about that. Have a reflection on that. I encourage you to. Maybe even do some research. Okay, and by the way, on my website, I do have, I call it my privacy statement, and it's like guidance and rules page. It's at the very bottom of every web page. It's also in the about section of my website. And then every time, not only someone signs up, but then every time they continue to log in, you're agreeing to what's there. Now they're quite short, and I'd like to think that you'd read them and find them non-controversial. But some of them are interesting, right? Like, for example, statements about using, drugs or alcohol when you're engaging with my services. So maybe that would give you some incentive to read it now. Okay, so that's one aspect. I'd also like to give some other examples. So imagine for a moment that this room is filled with water. So I'm in my studio, It's not a very large room. It's about, you could fit like a single bed and a drum kit in it. And imagine that I started to fill it with cold water. And then I was like, so I turned on the cold tap and the room starts to fill up and it's really, really cold and my body's feeling really cold. So as it gets up to my neck, I'm like, it's too cold. So I want to put it in hot tap, but I still keep the cold tap running. What do you think happens? I'm saying yes to cold and yes to hot. And so we get this mixed water that starts to fill this room. And this is really what happens with mixed intentions. It's like saying, instead of yes or no, you're saying yes and no at the same time. And that creates this blended situation of the energy or consent of what it is that you're allowing in. Okay, so let's now talk about what this means with people in our human lives. So I did have an example a couple of years ago. It was in our previous house where a stranger turned up to the door. They seemed quite confused and distressed, but they seemed safe. They seemed physically healthy, mentally and emotionally. They were quite distraught. And my wife and children were in the house, and this person knocked at the door and they asked to come into the house. And I said, no. I said, you're not allowed to come in my house. I said, what I'll do is I'll call the police and get you some help. And there's more explanation about why I would call the police to get them some help. But they felt that that would be good as well. They were looking for assistance. And I remember having this discussion with my wife and saying, should we allow them in or not? And I said, no, I don't think we should, because the moment that you allow someone in your house, and then certainly in our country, and then the police turn up, it gets very confused. You're suddenly in a situation where, like, are they an unwanted guest? You know, have you had history with them? And I remember saying to the police when they first turned up, I said, I do not know this person. I've never met them. Only minutes before, was about 20 minutes it took them to turn up. I've never met them. They've just been talking to me at my doorstep for this length of time. This took about 3 or 4 clarifications with the police officer so that I was clear to them that I'd not let them in my home. And whilst you can have opinions about the law and the variations of our laws across different countries, for me, it was important for the safety of my family and myself. And then I also felt that it was important for my to have a clear situation when the police came to assist, so that there was no ambiguity about whether myself and my family were involved, because certainly the person was very confused. The good news is we were able to help them. We managed to, the local police are just fantastic here, and they're very friendly, and they're able to help the person. And really what they wanted was someone to come to their home and to check on things and make sure that it was safe, and also to check on some other people. And so the police were very kind and went off to do that. So that was that. So let's also talk about relationships that you allow in your life. So if you have a boundary, a bit like a front door, and it kind of swings backwards and forwards, you just allow people in and out of your life, and you allow people in that you don't really like. You know, maybe one of your boundaries is that you don't like people that you don't let people into your space, into your life, who are disrespectful to you. And yet, what happens when someone is closer to you and starts being disrespectful to you? So they're already within your boundaries. Maybe it's a family member or a friend, and they're persistently disrespectful to you. What do you do? And it's a situation where if you do nothing about it, it becomes a mixed intention, because you're saying, well, I have a boundary here that people that are disrespectful to me are not allowed to step through it. And then you're saying, oh, but people that maybe were good to me all the time and respectful, and now they're sometimes disrespectful or disrespectful all the time, that they're allowed in. Like, it becomes confused. And what you quickly see is that the next time someone is, on the outside of your boundary, maybe even the outside of your home, and they're disrespectful to you, you're much more likely to let them into your boundaries, into your home, than you were if you were, looking after yourself and having a strong, clear boundary. And now let's talk energetically. So this is where things maybe are less obvious to you. If we talk a little bit about scrolling on your phone. So you're scrolling on your phone, maybe you're on a popular social media platform, you're scrolling down and someone is doing something in a short video that you don't like. And it could be violence, or it could be something inappropriate, and you've decided that it doesn't feel good. If you just keep scrolling by, the algorithms learn, well, John watched that for 2 or 3 seconds. He didn't just skip immediately by. Maybe he felt fear in the moment and watched it. That kind of fear excitement you get, a bit like if you're watching a horror movie. And then you keep going. The challenge there is that if you don't unfollow or block that or dislike that content or give an indication that you don't want that content, it's going to come back and it'll keep coming back. And often the way I think about my social, my feeds, so this includes ones which are less obvious to customize, like maybe YouTube Shorts, things that are easier, like Instagram, where you can just restrict or unfollow or block. I would love to be sat next to one of my children and they're glanced over and looked at my phone and they felt that it was, it was appropriate, or should I say specifically appropriate for me. And that I lead by example. And so that's a real challenge, right? Like if you're just allowing these things into your space, or perhaps you follow someone on social media and maybe 20% of the time they do things you don't agree with. If you can continue to say yes and follow them, you're creating this mixed intention. Okay, this is where things get a bit darker, right? So let's talk about horror movies. So in the example of a horror movie, this is a movie that is created with the intention to generate fear within you and excitement. And our subconscious, and the studies that show this, that our subconscious and our body often can't discern whether we're physically there in the moment, or we're in the movie itself, or we're outside. And I feel like one really helpful way of looking at horror movies, for example, is, or this could also be things like ghost hunting shows, or anything that it ignites this fear, almost this adrenaline state, this fight or flight state within us. The more of that it ignites within us, the more likely we are to, how to describe it, begin to receive and receive willfully, and consent to really quite dark, negative energies. So imagine for a moment that your phone doesn't exist, that your TV screen doesn't exist, that you're literally there in that reality. It's just smaller, right? It's just in an area of your room that you're in, or wherever you in the space that you're in. And so, for example, if there's, some sort of demon entity in the movie that you're watching, it's there in your living room too, right? It's there if you remove this kind of black mirror side, and that's a whole different rabbit hole, right? Like if you want to research black mirrors and wonder why are our phones and TV screens and monitors and computers, why are they all black? Why are they also reflective like our phones? Why are they black mirrors? Maybe that's something you'd like to do some research on yourself. But know that it's very helpful to understand that this universe is energy first. So all these physical things in this universe, all the physical things are a result of the energy within it. So energy is vibrating within the atoms of this labradorite crystal and creating this signature of what feels like a construct of a physical object to me. And we know that matter changes with different frequencies. In fact, even things like its weight change or its constitution change. You can also, there's whole studies, experiments in how frequency changes water, how our energy can change plants' health just by the way we talk or sing to it or say abusive things to a plant, and please don't abuse your plants. But these are all things that you can do, and these are all very tangible physical ways that you can see that energy is not just something that's like emitted from a physical object. It actually exists first, and then like physicality is like overlaid on top. Now, it's good news if you're kind of if you're a negative entity, if you like, because if you're some sort of demon and you want to try and manipulate humans, well, one of their superpowers is this ability of illusion, right? So one of their strongest powers is hiding, right? So just pretend that they don't exist, that they're not there. And so many of us still on this planet don't believe in negative entities or demons. In fact, you can tell this is reflected in our laws to this day, certainly in the UK. Like, I'm pretty sure there's no mention of demons, and or doing negative energetic actions towards others. And yet we know there are modern science studies that show that you can do this to plants, for example, and water, and I'm sure many other things. So know that it's very real. And I also do the opposite as a day job. So I help heal people as a day job, doing psychic readings and quantum healing. And it all relies on this universe being energy first and being able to create and resonate and help trigger within people their own healing. So the opposite is true, right? That you can energetically attack others also. It doesn't matter that it's a recording or not. Just like you're watching this video with me, there's this feeling that I am, trying to help you, right? I hope that energy comes across. And I actually created a safe space before this video started. And in that safe space, I also set the intention, ironically, that I'm here to help express to you both verbally, physically, energetically, what intentions are, and to use real human examples. So I also talk about a very personal and challenging experience I had just a couple of days ago. So even if you guess at this in the comments, I'm not going to respond because I don't want to give power to this particular movie. But I did go and see what is like at the request of one of my family, go and see with them what is like a horror movie. And we watched it in the cinema. And this is the other thing, right? It's like, as soon as you give consent, so I bought the ticket, I was the one that drove us there, sat through the whole thing. It was really a good movie, like really powerful, and not just kind of, just sensationalizing. Like, there's a lot of deep thought and challenges in it, and those aspects are really good. But it was also incredibly dark. I'd argue, some of the scariest scenes I've seen. And the family member I was with seemed fine through the movie. Afterwards, I felt okay. And this is something to watch, right? Is that do leeches do this? So I know that ticks do this. Is that like when they attach to you, they inject this kind of anesthetist, if I can say the word. They can anesthetize the skin, like the nerves, so that it doesn't feel bad, right? You don't feel like, there's something sucking my blood. And so when you first receive some sort of an attachment, then it doesn't like feel immediately bad, right? It doesn't, and that's their superpower, right? Like, because if they did, you just brush them off and go, oh, it's terrible. I hate the feeling of that. But that night, so I felt fine. So did my family member. And then that night they had night terrors, 2 really bad night terrors. And I'd explained to them before this movie that I was unsure about going, especially given what I now know and what I do as a day job. And it includes removing negative energies and entities and demonic entities from people. And I think they didn't really fully take it on board, like how serious these things are. And so anyway, after they'd experienced those just horrific night terrors, and I say night terror like a nightmare and screaming real loud, and just being terrified in the moment. So after that, I said, look, tonight before we go to bed, we'll meditate together and I'll create a safe space. So you can imagine it's like this kind of sequential intention. But what I did say to them before we watched the movie, I said, I'll create this protective bubble around us. And that will be really helpful, because then that'll mean that anything comes out of the, almost imagining like the cinema screen, anything that comes out of it that tries to harm us, that we'll protect ourselves against it. It's not true, right? You're literally inviting that energy into your safe space, like you're inviting them into your home. And so you end up immediately in this conflicted, mixed intention. And, you might find, for example, maybe you find it difficult to be in large crowds, or maybe you find it difficult to be in pubs or where people are drinking, or whatever it is, or even your workplace, whatever you find hard to do. But if you keep going back to it, you're saying, I consent to physically being there. And so even though you try to protect yourself from the energies of others, you're mixing that intention, right? You're saying yes and no at the same time. So these are like important things to feel into for yourself. Like, I can't decide for you what you need to do. So anyway, we did meditate just before we went to bed, and I spent, and we'll do it together, you and I, just now in a minute. And we spent, I think about 15 minutes, and we created protection around us and set clear intention, and we cleared negative energy from us, and we created protection around our home. And really what I was doing was, the main focus was spending enough energy, so not time and not the words and not the actions, but enough of the energy in the space of intention and doing it together, that we were overriding this previous intention. You could argue an error, but I mean, it was an experience. It was also a good movie, but it was not good night terrors. That then the next day we're saying, okay, let's now change that intention. That intention is not good. There's a new boundary, which is, and I made sure we removed any attachments, any cords, anything that doesn't serve our highest good. And with that clear intention, it felt a lot better. It felt like, just afterwards, it felt like you could feel the energy in the room and in our home lift and within us. And so I do this practice, and I had done on the day of watching that movie, an intentional protection in the morning. I always do it before bedtime. When I'm doing client sessions, I do this work in between. I do all the things you can imagine. And I do this professionally now. It's my day job. And so I know a lot, but I'm learning all the time. And clearly I'm not perfect. Clearly, you could argue it was a mistake to watch that movie. But it was definitely a lesson. And, sometimes the universe will loop you back into a bad habit to say, have we done yet? Are you really over this yet? So I'd encourage you to feel into that. So if you're ever wondering why maybe you're struggling to remove negative energies or entities or people from your life, it might be that somehow you're giving consent, or have given consent and haven't nullified it, haven't removed it since. That you may be in a mixed intention situation. And you could describe the road to hell, or the quickest road to hell is is a path paved with mixed intentions. I've heard variations of that, and I think mixed intentions is really powerful. So yeah, have a think about all that. Let me know in the comments about what your thoughts are. And before we go into meditation, I'd encourage you to do this. For all the things you've heard from me, if this resonates with you, if it feels like there's topics in here you'd like to explore more, please do. Watch the video back, maybe take some notes, take time to reflect on it. And I encourage everyone to do, like, I describe it like that's a thumb up and thumb down, or maybe is like, of course you can like the video, excuse me, but you can also just say to yourself as you're listening back, is this true for me? Yes or no? Or am I not sure? These are really important, right? Because as you allow yourself to feel into different subjects that are presented to you, you can discern with your heart, ask your heart, how does it feel? Pause the video, ask yourself, how does this feel? And I encourage clients to do this with the recordings of each session that I send on, because it's important to feel into these different aspects of your own truth, your own experiences, and your belief systems. There might be a lot in here you do agree with or don't agree with, and you get to choose. Don't just trust my energy or my intention. Feel into it yourself. Okay, so I'm just going to get ready and we can start this meditation. And so this is a shorter version of, I say a version, like they're intuitively created, but it's a shorter meditation of the 14-day spirit guide meditations. And there's another variation of that 14-day spirit guide meditations, which is the 14-day negative energy and entity removal meditations. Okay. So if you'd like to join me, we shall begin. And just sit comfortably, close your eyes if you choose to, or soften your gaze. And now take a deep breath in through the nose. And breathe out what no longer serves your highest good, nice and loud. Breathe in through the nose, nice and deep. And breathe out any fear, shame, anxiety, or pain, nice and loud. Breathe in through the nose, nice and deep. And breathe out any remaining low vibration energy or emotion that no longer serves your highest good, nice and loud. And continue to breathe deeply and calmly. Now, from the center of your heart, extend a cord of golden light up through the top of your head, reaching up into the sky and up into the stars, going higher and higher through the frequencies and dimensions of this universe until you reach the highest dimension of the source of love of this universe. And there, connecting your light cord into the highest dimension of source. Remain connected into source and extend your light cord down through the stars and through the sky, back down to the top of your head and into your heart once more. And now this time from the center of your heart, extend the light cord down through the root of your spine, deep into the ground, all the way down through the layers of the planets, going deeper and deeper until you reach the very core of Mother Earth, and there connecting your light cord into Mother Gaia's crystalline heart. And we send Mother Gaia so much love at this time. Allow her to send her love back. Remain connected into Gaia's heart and extend your light cord up through the layers of the planet, up through the root of your spine and into your heart once more. Now, together with the lights of Source above, Mother Gaia below, and your own light, expand out a golden bubble of protective light to form a strong, unbreakable boundary that surrounds you about 2 meters out from the center of your heart, to each side, above and below, in front and behind, and set the intention for this bubble that only energies and entities with your permission, with your highest good, with your love and compassion, can see you, access you, or exist within this space or within you. All other energies and entities must leave immediately. And into your golden bubble, you choose who you invite in. Inviting in your spirit guides, your higher self, Archangel Michael, Archangel Raphael, Source, and Gaia. And we ask for their guidance, clearing, healing, protection, and assistance with the integration of today's meditation and the resulting actions and healings. And now I encourage you to bring down a column of source light from the highest dimension of source above to just above the top of your head. And now expand this out to form a golden bubble of protective light that surrounds your whole home. About 20 meters above your home, 20 meters below into the ground, and 20 meters out around the sides of your home, all around the land, creating another larger golden bubble of protective light. And set the intention for this boundary around your home, however large you choose to create it, that only energies and entities with your permission, with your highest good, love and compassion can see you, access you, or exist within this space or within you. All other energies and entities must leave immediately. And now, we invite forwards Archangel Michael to assist us in clearing and cutting any cords and nullifying any agreements that no longer serve our highest good. You can work with your own weapon of light or tool of light. I choose my light sword, and I ask my sword, be with me. And as I raise my sword gently above my head, I set the intention to remove anything that no longer serves my highest good. And I'll hold the sword with my right hand, and with my left hand create a cup, which I form into a golden bubble of protective light that I will use to capture any of these negative energies or entities that don't serve my highest good. So I bring down my light sword, removing anything from my crown chakra, my head, my neck, my third eye, my throat, anything that doesn't serve my highest good, and I push it into this golden bubble in front of me. I capture it there temporarily. I'm coming down now through shoulders, all the way through my neck and shoulders, all the way down my arms and my hands, down through the top of my body, my upper body, my chest, around my heart, all the way down, removing anything that doesn't serve my highest good and pushing it into this golden bubble to capture it. And then continuing down to the base of my spine, across my legs and out to my feet. And I remove anything that doesn't serve my highest good, and I push it into this bubble. I then swap hands, and now with my left hand with the sword and my right hand with this protective bubble in my hand, I scan through again across my whole body this time, and just varying and a little bit randomly, removing anything that doesn't serve my highest good in lots of different areas, double checking through, making sure I'm totally clear. And I capture all of that. And I now just brush with my hand off anything that doesn't serve my highest good and push it into the golden bubble. And I ask Archangel Michael, please return this energy to source or never return here again. And now I ask Archangel Michael to assist me with any agreements, any contracts, any connections, any cords that I have intentionally or unintentionally created with others. I now remove these from around my heart, and I take my light sword and I gently cut around the outside of my heart, only removing anything that doesn't serve my highest good. And again, with my left hand and a golden bubble of protective light in my hand, I'm scooping up any of these connections that don't serve me. And as I cut away any connections, agreements, any contracts, including soul contracts, anything that was attached into me that is not of me and does not serve my highest good, I pull out of my heart. And it might be the end points of those connections and agreements, and I push them into this bubble. Return to source or never return here again. And now only the connections that serve my highest good For example, connections with the loved ones that I truly respect and allow within my boundaries. Only their connections will exist. Now I ask Archangel Raphael to come forwards to me to assist me in healing. Please do so if you choose to. With his heart and his green lights, clearing, healing, and energizing every aspect of you, all the way from your head, down to your toes, down to your fingertips, the base of your spine, all across your body, healing, clearing, and energizing. And anything that no longer serves your highest good, together with any excess energy, being brought down from your heart, down through the roots of your spine and deep into the ground, for Mother Gaia to transmute. And we thank Archangel Michael and Archangel Raphael. And we ask now for our guides, our higher selves, Archangel Michael, Archangel Raphael, Source and Gaia, to protect us, to help us reinforce our boundaries through the day and through the night until we next meditate once more. We ask for the continued assistance and the clarification of our own clear intentions, crystal clear intentions. We ask their assistance in bringing our attention to any areas of our lives that are somehow mixed in intentions or ambiguous, encouraging us as we go about our daily lives to only give consent to what we truly and clearly believe should be allowed. And we also ask that wherever we go in nighttime, dream time, wherever we travel, that we'll remain in these safe spaces we've created around us, and that the same clear boundaries apply, and that we only allow energies and entities with our highest good love and compassion to enter or to see us within these spaces. All other energies and entities must leave immediately. And so as we bring ourselves now back to our bodies, back to our breath, and back to where we started, we now know that we have created these strong boundaries around us. And if you choose to, you can fill your whole protective bubble with the love of Source above by bringing down a column of golden light from the highest dimension of Source above, and set the intention to fill your whole bubble, saturated, and you, within you, every dimension of you, with pure, unconditional love of Source. Allow this now to remove anything that doesn't serve your highest good and to ground that Source energy deep down through the root of your spine and to the core of Mother Earth. And if you wish, you can come back now, come back to your body, open your eyes, move around, perhaps drink some water. So I hope that helped you. You may notice that during the session, we removed any agreements, any cords, any connections that don't serve our highest good. And this can be really helpful in helping you create your own sovereignty and boundaries. And so I'd encourage you to reflect on today's video more. If you don't already have a daily practice, please do check out my free 14-day spirit guide meditation challenges. And you can also repeat this meditation that I've done just now as often as you wish. And know that you exist within this beautiful free will universe, and you get to decide in every single present moment. Don't feel bullied. Don't allow others to coerce you or influence you or push you into what you feel uncomfortable with. And even if you end up in the situations where you have done that, remember, it's never too late to start reversing and clearing up those intentions to create strong boundaries, and to know that you decide who comes into your boundaries, who you accept, what behaviors, what actions. And when your boundaries are pushed or compromised, know that it's important for you to protect your heart, to know that your boundaries are there for a reason, and to take action. And maybe that means leaving that place, that job, that home, that relationship, that friendship, whatever it is, know that these are important aspects of your free will and having clear intentions. If you have requests for other videos, please do take a look at the comment section and put your questions for other topics you'd like me to cover. And I also cover these topics and more in more detail, including more practical work in my Higherself Foundational Training, which starts on the 10th of March this year. It's an 8-week training program online. You can visit johnbinney.com. In fact, it says it there, johnbinney.com. And please do take a look. And I hope you enjoy my free meditations and my services. Feel free to book me in for a one-to-one session if you have challenges that I can help you with. So thank you so much. And I'm sending so much love from Scotland. Take care. Thank you. Bye.